All right, welcome back. So I have not fired a single round from this Proof Research Tac 3, this ultralight rifle. I've had a lot of questions about it. Guys, this is a hand-laid carbon fiber chassis. It is only available from Proof Research. They do it, and this rifle setup was built by them. So basically all I've done was add the optics and the suppressor and everything else. Took about 4 months to build it, and yes, it is not inexpensive, but it does shoot the 6.5 PRC cartridge. So basically the 6.5 PRC precision rifle cartridge is essentially a 6.5 Creedmoor on steroids. So you guys saw the whole process of me mounting everything up. I have not fired a single round through it. I'm just doing a rudimentary bore sighting right now to make sure that the optics at least going to be close. I'll show you what that looks like up close. I know you guys have seen it before, but I don't want to be wasting a lot of rounds. Now with regards to break-in on a rifle that's, you know, $8,000, Proof recommends clean the bore, shoot 3 shots, clean the bore using the proper tools. 3 shots, clean the bore, 5 shots, clean the bore, and you're good to go. Anytime I'm doing something like this, I always practice on a higher end rifle like this. I always practice a break-in procedure. Typically I'll do 1 clean, 1 clean, 1 clean, then I'll do the 3 and then the 5. So I'm going to stick with exactly what Proof said. They guarantee a half MOA. We're going to be shooting the Hornady ELD match in the 147 grain, and it should be pushing it somewhere around 2,900 feet per second. I also brought the lab radar, the chronograph, and I've got a camera down range. We'll see how it does. Like I said, I haven't even fired a single shot, so I'm looking forward to it as much as you guys are. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so as you can well imagine, this is going to be next to impossible to do, but basically you look through the bore, keeping everything very concentric. Now, I actually have a white piece of paper back there, but it's all the way through the bore, so you're not going to be able to see it. It almost had it. And then what I'll do is I'll just pop my head up and look through the optic and make sure that it's there as well in the reticle. So that's what we do when we're trying to bore sight it, so I don't waste a lot of rounds trying to get this thing sighted in. All right, so we're all set up at 100 yards. I've got it exactly at 100. I'm not going to worry about the Wilcox Raptor for now. I will get that dialed in a little bit. I've already put in the ballistics for the 6.5 PRC. Today we're shooting the Hornady ELD match, 147 grain, and a lot of you guys might say, well, why would you shoot a 6.5 PRC? And the reason is you can shoot further without going subsonic or getting into that transonic area. This is basically pushing the 147 grain. According to the box, it's saying about 2,900 feet per second. So that means I won't even start getting transonic or subsonic until I get beyond 1,600 yards. So almost a mile shot. You know, it's shy, 160 yards or so, but I don't have to worry about that. And in a 6.5 Creedmoor, you're good out to about 1,300 or so yards. It really depends on environmentals and everything else. So basically, this is a 6.5 Creedmoor on steroids, uses a Magnum cartridge, short action, but I'm excited to pull the trigger on this. I want to see how it does, so this will be the first shot out of it. Like I said, I just did a rudimentary bore sighting, so hopefully it's on paper, and then we can make a correction off of the second shot. So here we go. We'll go ahead and try to get some chronograph data. Hopefully the lab radar will pick it up. And there's that 6.5 cartridge, if you guys want to see it up close. Trigger's crisp, it's not crazy light. Now we're estimating, I'd say it's about 2.5 pounds. So I think that's a good place to start with the trigger. So let's see. Now what I'm going to do is there are 6 dots, 2 columns of 3. I'm going to aim dead center between the second target down and the second target down in between the 2 columns. That'll give me the most surface area to work with on the paper. So this is just a sighter. Definitely tell it's getting there very quickly. I did not get a reading on my lab radar, and that is very disappointing. I figured that might be the case. But guys, using the reticle as best that I can, I am about 1 mil-radian low, and I'm about 8/10 right. So I need to go. All right, so remember the rifle, the dope was not zeroed. We just spun it up till we got a bore sight. Remember I said I'm about a mil low, so I'm at 2.2. What we're going to do is dial it up to 3.2. 3, 1, 2. So that should bring the bullet up. We're also to the right about 8/10. So I want to go to the left 8/10. Right is down, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8/10 left. Now that might be too much because I'm just estimating on what's in the reticle itself, but that should at least get us close enough to get within one of the green bullseyes. All right, I am really hoping we get a velocity reading on this next one. And now that we should be pretty darn close to being on, I'm going to aim at the top left green bullseye. Well, I'm almost dead center in the bullseye. We're just a hair high and a hair right, but it's not enough for me to worry about. I did not get a velocity reading again, and that's killing me because I really wanted to see what the velocity was. All right, I've reset the lab radar. I'm not going to change a thing. I'm going to aim at the same spot, same location, and we'll see what we get. Okay, it's definitely within a half of an inch of each other. I will tell you, the rifle does not kick, but it definitely kicks more than, let's say, my Accuracy International in 6.5. We also got a velocity reading of 28.94, so I'm very satisfied with that. At least we have a number to deal with, and we're not dealing with a hand load, so I can definitely tell that's going to be faster than just a normal 147 grain out of a 6.5 Creedmoor, but I've got a pretty tight group. But I have to stop now. Well, I think now is a good time for me to zero my turrets out, get these at 0, 0, and then I need to go ahead and clean the bore. All right, so the first thing I need to do is re-zero those turrets out because I know that we're pretty good right now on where it's located. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my elevation cap. I'm going to go ahead and unscrew it all the way. Oh, there we go. So I was able to loosen that enough, and now what I should be able to do is lift the cap off. Okay, now that the cap's off, if I want to adjust the zero stop, now is a good time to do that. Like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this clutch mechanism. And you really don't want to turn it much, you just want to turn it slightly. Now, what I want you guys to notice, I'm going to bring it around here so you guys can see it. But there is this little disc that comes around. You guys see that? And when this goes all the way to the bottom, that's going to be the zero stop. So the zero location would be there. I don't like to be completely on the bottom. Okay, I'll tell you that. I like to be able to go down just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this back just a little. See right there, I've got a little bit of space so that I'm not all the way up against the stop here. I just give myself a little bit of space. That way, if I ever needed to go down because of environmentals, I can do that. But I don't want this to move on me. So I'm going to start tightening a little more. And remember, this is 4 inch-pounds. You don't want to screw this up and strip anything out of your system. So here we go. 1, click, up. See how that went backwards? That's all right. I can go back to where I think it was. We're going to go to the next one and the next one. And based on what I heard, I only think it was about 2 clicks. That might have been a little bit too much. Somewhere in there should be good. Now I can adjust the cap if I need to, but I know that it's going to be pretty good there. And guys, it is sealed so well from Nightforce that if you don't keep downwards pressure on it, you try to screw it down, you guys see how it springs back? That's that airlock in there basically from the gasket. And I might have to do it again because I might be off on my clicks just slightly. Yeah, we're good there. Oh yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. That's when I say Wunderbar. That is perfect. Wonderful. Now it's time for the windage. We're going to do the exact same thing. So I'm just going to loosen this slightly. It only has one single set screw on this windage knob. So what I'm going to do is just turn it down to 0 for my windage. That looks pretty good right there. That's it. She is good to go. So now I've got everything set up for 100. I'll still confirm it. I still have to punch the bore out. But I've got 0 elevation, 0 on the windage. I can still go down some, but I've set my 0 stop. It's 5/10. I can go below it, 5/10. And some of you might say, well, why is that important? And the reason is if you're shooting long range or shooting long distance, and I go up a long ways, let's say I'm shooting out to a mile or 2,000 yards, I might forget which 0 I'm at. So I might go here and say, oh, okay, I'm good. And you might say, well, there's a big gap there. Sometimes you just forget, and so it's just a whole lot easier. Dial back to 0. There it is. 5/10 down, comes up. A lot of scopes will do like 2/10 down. I think some of the Steiners and some of the Vortexes will do like 2/10 down on the MRAD, but that's it. That's how we zero that. What I want to do is go ahead and punch the bore out, and then we'll do 3 more shots. Alright guys, so there's a saying that I say a lot, and that is don't overthink it. And don't overthink cleaning during break-in. All you're going to need is a good one-piece rod. So I've got a good one-piece rod. It's gun slick. I've got some hops number 9. I'm going to show you guys a trick that I do with a new bottle. I normally have a squirt applicator, but when I'm out in the field, I don't like anything to be open. Instead of taking that and cutting it with a knife, what I do is just poke 2 holes in it. That way it's just like an old oil can, and it's easy to regulate how much solvent you get on a patch. I need a bore guide. So this is basically going to go into the action, and this adjusts basically to lock like a bolt into the action itself. So I'm just going to insert this in. I'm sure everyone knows how these work. You do have a solvent port up at the top. I don't use a solvent port like that. And then what I usually do is I'll take a rag and put it over the stock so that I'm not pouring hops and everything else all over this expensive stock. The other thing is this is Vortec, the CU +2 copper remover, might be the +3, I'm not sure. And then you just want a good brass push jag or something like a nickel coated push jag. I have some J. Dewey round patches. Don't buy the ones at Walmart, those don't really do well. You just poke a hole in the center, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little oil spout here, and I'm just going to put a little bit on the patch. All right, so what we're going to do is in a nice smooth motion, we're just going to push straight through. And then pull the patch off. You guys can see the carbon fouling that we're removing from there. Okay, I'm just going to do about 3 patches, push them through here, 3 wet patches. That should be sufficient enough. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll do this and then clean the solvent off, just trying to keep a clean workspace. And guys, regardless of the price of the rifle, it wouldn't matter if this was a $500 hunting gun. My technique and process stays the same regardless. Treat them all the same way. Okay, still getting some carbon out of there. So I'm going to continue to do this a few more times. If you drop something, let it fall. Do not try to reuse it. You don't want to be introducing dirt or anything like that back into your bore, especially when you're outside or if you're in a dusty environment. That's not a good time to be trying to do this. Now I'm just going to squirt just a little bit of the Vortec on here. And you guys can see a tinge of blue, but it also got a little more of the carbon out as well. So I'll let it sit for just a second. I'll do 1 or 2 more. So guys, check it out. Only 3 shots, and we are showing some carbon fouling, or copper fouling. You can see the blue there. It almost matches the paper towels over there. Not that big of a deal, but You want on a rifle like this, let's go ahead and just do it right. But what I've found is if you break in a rifle properly and clean it properly, it'll go longer between cleanings with accuracy. It doesn't basically hold as much copper in the barrel, if you will. That's what I've personally found by breaking in barrels. So I've removed all the copper. It's only been about 5 minutes since I stopped the video. And then what I did, or what I will do, is I'll always follow it up with a wet patch of hops. And what I usually hear is that squeaky clean. And it's also a way for me to check, and I want you guys to see this. This patch has nothing on it. It's just solid white. So you never want to leave that solvent in there like that and then shoot through it, because it's going to give it a lubricity, if you will, in the bore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off, follow it up with a dry patch, and we are ready for another 3-shot group. Oh, and a good idea, guys, anytime you clean your barrel, always try to look through and make sure that you didn't leave any fibers or anything like that in there. Make sure there's no obstructions, especially when you're out in the field. All right, so everything's clear, it's good. Figured it would, but it doesn't hurt to check. All right, so for this, guys, we are gonna go top right bullseye. Top right bullseye. Okay, I would say she's a 10th high, but I'm not going to change anything. So I did guess wrong 1 click, or a 10th rather. That one went way high. And that wouldn't have been me. But it was also a clean barrel. So that's common. Okay, same hole as the last. So I'm happy with that. Like I said, clean cold bore. You never know, that first shot's going to be off a little bit. You'll never be able to duplicate that first shot. 2893 is the velocity on that last shot. So what I've got to do now, I'm going to clean it. I'm going to spare you guys the details. I'm going to clean it again, and then we'll be ready for a 5-shot group. And then we'll really see how she prints. I'm going to go ahead and re-zero this turret and come down a 10th, and that should put us on the money. Okay, here we go. Bottom left target. Now we'll go right target. I should be able to get on this one pretty good. There she is. Guys, that's what you get, and that's what you pay for with some of these rifles. So that's a 3-shot group at 100 yards, and that's going to measure probably under a 1/4 inch. I think my video camera is rolling up there, but she's broken in. She's good to go. I'm happy with it. Like, share, and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.